Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics. Today I am at Jeremiah's Antiques in Putnam, Connecticut. This is sort of the brick and mortar store for J&S Collectibles, a huge comic book dealer in New England. They're having a massive Black Friday sale. I can't wait to check it out, guys, and find some great deals. Let's go inside and see if we can find something really good. And you're just standing here? What's going on? So Steele just saw this, pointed this out to me. So this is a Dave Stevens famous comic book, and that's the sticker price. What's the deal today?
It's half off.
Half off? $8 for this? Are you kidding me? Okay. All right, so that was pretty cool. So that was Steele, who is the owner of J&S Collectibles. He and his wife had a great conversation with them about the sale, but mostly about vacations. They are famous vacationers. They're fantastic with all the wheels and deals that they know about. So I'm going to look around here and find some really good comic books. And I already started with one. So yeah, so this is the deal. Everything up to $39 is 50% off, 40 or more, 35. And yeah, and everything's already priced pretty darn good. So definitely got to start looking here. It's cool. These are all half-price slabs. It's a pretty good deal, actually. I like these horrors. They're pretty neat. All right, first Damian Wayne would be $10. I think that's a pretty good deal for this book. Old Man Logan. One of my favorite comic covers ever. This would be $20. You get some weird overspray or something on the spine. Still a good deal. One of my favorites ever. One of the first older comics I ever bought as a kid, featuring my two favorite characters. Awesome. Here we have the first appearance of Vigilante. This is a first appearance of Willow the Wisp. Much higher grade. First Dead Boy Detectives. $10, not bad. All right, we have some back issues here. Lots of good stuff to pick through. Some Incredible Hulk. These are already priced really low. X-Books. I have all these, but they're fun to look at. All right. Got a few Captain America issues I'm looking for. Oh, that's great. I was like this cover. Great Romita cover. These $7.50. That's a good deal for that book. couple of specific issues I am looking for. Yeah, that's one of them. Replacement copy. Always like this cover. 300th issue. Very cool. Oh, this is the Mike Mignola. Yeah. It's a cool book. Man, there are just so many boxes down here to go through. Everywhere you look, you could be here all day. Not necessarily a bad thing. Check this out. Look at that. This is Voltron tattoos. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. And when you haven't seen something before, you get it. If it's cheap, that's be $5. Cool. Cool. All right, I have a pretty good little stack here, and I think I got an incredible deal on these. So let's check out, head back home, show you guys everything I got. So there you go. That was once again Jeremiah's Antiques in Putnam, Connecticut. I've spoken about this place a million times on my channel. Putnam is a beautiful, idyllic little New England town. Just a great place to visit. You know, they have lots of little quaint shops. They have restaurants. They have breweries. They even have a comic book shop. And they were always having big events for all of like the big holidays. It's just a really cool place to visit. But I love going because there's a couple of huge antique shops that are full of comic books. And one of them, Jeremiah's Antiques, basically serves as the brick and mortar store for J&S Collectibles. One of the biggest comic dealers in New England. I see them at all the local shows. They also stretch all over the eastern seaboard. And yeah, they tend to have these big sales pretty much every time there's a holiday. And Black Friday is certainly not one to miss. I was told by the guys at J&S, you know, a few days before at a comic show, they were having a crazy good deal. Normally they do like 20% off. This was pretty much 50% off. I absolutely had to swing in it. And guys, I only ended up with 5 comic books, but I got a ridiculously great price on these. So before I show you what they are, if you like this sort of stuff and you want to support the channel, head on down, like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram under Lunch Money Comics IG. So I want to start with the very first comic book that I found when I walked in. You saw as soon as I got in there, I bumped into none other than one of the owners of J&S Collectibles, Steve. He was there with his wife, sort of resituating their area. You know, the sale had been going on for a couple of days. People messed things up, so they were sort of organizing stuff. And it was great just to bump into them and talk. Both of them are fantastic, seasoned world travelers. I love talking about travel with both of them. It's just great chatting with them. But of course, Steve also knows what I'm into, and he pointed out this book immediately. And he's absolutely right. This is one that I had to pick up, especially for the too good to be true price. It's this. This is Seduction of the Innocent #1, published by Eclipse Comics in 1985. And this, of course, is known for its very famous Dave Stevens cover of the scantily clad witch in front of all these pumpkins. Very cool Halloween cover. And I like Dave Stevens. And if you are a Dave Stevens fan, this book is a must-have. Now, I already own this book. I actually have one signed by Dave Stevens. But for the price that this was at, I could not say no to another copy. Now, what's going on with this book? Well, you see the title here is Seduction of the Innocent, and that's actually in reference to the 1954 book Seduction of the Innocent by Frederick Wortham, which basically led to the moral panic against comic books in their effect on kids and was a direct, consequence of making the comics code in the early 1950s. So that's what this is referring to, because the story inside this comic is actually an unprinted story from the pre-code comic days. A story that ended up getting thrown away and not published because the comics code came up. So it's actually printed in this book, but you see here it's also three-dimensional Seduction of the Innocent because it's actually red-green 3D. You need the 3D glasses to read it. So it's kind of a silly book. Doesn't really matter what's in the inside, guys. People get this because of the cover. Now, the sticker price that Steve had on this was $16, which is too good to be true. And that's before the 50% off. So this only cost me $8. That's way too good to be true, right? Steve knows this stuff. It can't be that cheap. Well, that's because there is a detached cover here. Yeah, when I got home and rebagged it, it is a detached cover. But otherwise, guys, it's a beautiful copy. I did, when I looked at it, notice there was something funky going on with the staples. But it presents fantastic, guys. And for $8, I'm never going to stick my nose up to this book. So there you go, guys. Seduction of the Innocent, #1, famous Dave Stevens cover for only $8. I think that's a fantastic price for this book in any grade. Next up, this is a Silver Age book. There were plenty of Silver Age books to be found there at great prices. And this isn't really a key issue, but definitely a cool cover. This is Captain America #114 from 1969, written by Stan Lee. Cover and interior art by John Romita Sr. And this is just a great Romita cover of Captain America and his alter ego, Steve Rogers. Now, what's going on in this story? Well, Steve Rogers is sort of having like an existential crisis. Is he Steve Rogers? Is he Captain America? He's basically trying to figure out if he can keep hiding his identity. It wasn't common knowledge that Captain America and Steve Rogers were the same person at the time. Also, he was dealing with his budding romance with Sharon Carter. The normal sort of existential crisis that these superhero characters have from time to time. The other Avengers are shaking their head like, oh, poor Steve. Kind of a silly read, guys, but it's a really cool Romita cover. And something I really like about it is this little tiny 15-cent stamp right there. Wherever this was sold back in the day, yeah, they upped the cost from 12 cents to 15. I just like those little stamps that put these in a nice place in time. So $15 was the price tag he had, so $7.50. I think that's a fantastic deal for this book. Next up, we have a modern comic book, a book I've actually owned in the past, but very, very briefly. It's this. This is Batman #655 from 2006, written by Grant Morrison, art by Andy Kubert, and this is known as the first appearance in cameo form of Damian Wayne, who is Bruce Wayne's son, who he has with Talia al Ghul. Now, this is often considered the first appearance of Damian Wayne, but it really is, guys, a cameo. Like, you see his eyes in shadow. He is barely in this comic book, but Damian Wayne is a pretty cool Batman sidekick. I think a lot of people prefer him as, like, the Robin, and I think he's going to appear in, a lot of future movies and things like that regarding Batman. And for a modern comic book, guys, this isn't in the best shape. There are a lot of spine ticks, which you do not want to see on a comic book from 2006. But still, guys, sticker price $20, so $10 for first Damian Wayne. Couldn't say no to it, guys. Absolutely happy to pick this one up. All right, these are pretty funny. This is not a comic book. JNS Collectibles has all sorts of little fun things sprinkled within. I saw this, guys, and I just could not say no to it. It is this. These are tattoos published by Topps in 1984, and they're 24 Voltron tattoos. Topps did this a lot. They would make these sort of temporary kid tattoos for a lot of the cartoon series that were going on in the 80s, like, for instance, Smurfs. I've seen them do this. But this is a sealed pack of Voltron tattoos. And as a kid, guys, I loved Voltron. I thought it was absolutely awesome. And the fact this is sealed, I had to have it. With the sale, it was only $5. I couldn't say no. As much as I love Voltron, guys, I might be giving this away as a Christmas gift to a friend of mine. Maybe. We'll see. Someone who might actually like Voltron more than me. But I thought that was kind of cool. Did not expect to find it in there. So $5 for these guys. I thought it was just too cool to not pick up. Last but certainly not least, this is a book I've actually been looking for, and it's really, really cool. It's this. This is Giant-Sized Creatures featuring Werewolf by Night, #1. And despite that really big run-on title, for all intents and purposes, guys, this is Giant-Size Werewolf by Night, #1. Just like Marvel was doing in the 1970s, you get these giant-sized square-bound comics. sometimes multiple stories, and that's exactly what we have here. We have multiple stories featuring the Jack Russell Werewolf by Night, a character I like very much. That in and of itself would have made me want this comic book, but there's actually a really cool claim to fame here regarding this character. So this is the first appearance of Tigra, the Weirwoman. Now, Tigra was a longtime member of the Avengers and the Avengers affiliated teams when I was growing up. When I think the Avengers, yeah, I think of Thor and Iron Man and Captain America, but for me, reading comic books in the 80s and 90s, I also think of Tigra. This is actually her first appearance in one of these stories. Kind of. It's the first appearance of the character of Tigra, but not the first appearance of her alter ego, which is Greer Grant Nelson. She first appeared 2 years prior in Claws of the Cat #1, except in that issue, she's just called the Cat, and she's wearing a cat costume, kind of like Catwoman. She actually looks a lot like Hellcat, another member of the Avengers, and she has claws, and again, she's a cat persona type character. Well, here we are a couple years later, and the story in this is that she is poisoned by Hydra with some sort of radiation, and her mentor tries to save her life by bringing her to the lair of the cat people, these mystical cat people that do a ritual that saves her life, but also converts her into a were-tiger. Basically, a woman that can turn into a tiger. And that is why we now call her Tigra. And because I am a fan of the Avengers, especially those 80s Avengers, and I like those first appearances, guys, I've been looking for first appearance of Tigra. I still definitely want to get Claws of the Cat #1. That's definitely on my wish list. But because this is 70s Marvel Bronze Age monster goodness and a first appearance, I was excited to find it. Another cool thing about this book is that they actually graded it. JNS Collectibles said it's a 5.0 on the back, and I think that's about right. A lot of times with these giant size, square bound books, the spine would just get absolutely beat up and there'd be splits. This one doesn't have any. It's actually in pretty darn good shape for what it is. So I was very happy to pick it up at a great price. And you see I left the sticker here. It says $25. So I got it for $12.50, which I think is a killer deal for this book. So very happy to have, yes, a Werewolf by Night giant size issue. First appearance of Tigra as well. Awesome pickup for $12.50. So I got all 5 of these comics. Well, 4 comic books and some tattoos. Total price I got on these was, after the discount, $43. $43 I think is a fantastic deal for these comic books, guys. But don't take my word for it. Head on down in the comments and let me know if you think that's a great deal and which of these pickups is your favorite. Once again, if you find yourself in the area of Putnam, Connecticut, absolutely stop in and check out Jeremiah's Antiques. JNS Collectibles is always having sales on the comic books there. Pretty much every holiday they have a sale. Definitely stop in if you've never been there before. It is a fantastic place to go. And of course, follow JNS Collectibles on Instagram as well to see all about their sales and which shows they'll be setting up at. And that's it, guys. In the meantime, keep hunting for comic books in those strange and unusual places like antique shops and indoor flea markets. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you're all having a fantastic holiday season.